Voyager-19 is a first-person exploration game where you play as an astronaut searching planetary bodies for a missing expedition, whilst being slowly exposed to deadly radiation. The game is available on Steam. Atmosphere. The game is a real testament to immersion, with you pretty much being plumbed into the spaceship, unable to move and really only able to operate the computer in front of you. Yet this never takes you out of the moment, becoming somehow invested in the dots on the screen of the very basic computer system you use to traverse and scan the stars, your only window to the outside world. The game's goal is to examine everything on the navigation screen, take pictures and record a few seconds of audio from every planet in the solar system, with the hope of finding the missing expedition. And there's a great deal of anticipation as you move from celestial body to barren world, taking pictures and listening to the radio. The camera usually reveals very little, but the radio always produces an eerie sound, just like the real radio recordings of planets in real life. And as the game progresses, there was a sense of fear in what I might hear as the planets got stranger and stranger. There's a lot of alarming discoveries as the game reached its climax alongside the failing systems of your ship as it was exposed to more and more space radiation, reducing the amount of available power and making the screen harder to see. The atmosphere starts full of intrigue and ends up feeling hopeless as it becomes very apparent this mission is one way. That's one Harry Mason. Scares. There's only a few frightening moments with the game presenting you with random jump scares. Only one or two of them from debris hitting your ship, which is realistic in the massiveness of space. They're very, very rare in the game's hour-long runtime, and there's no predicting them, so it worked every time. Besides this, there's the concepts in the radio, the former of which arises where the reality of the situation dawns on you. You're part of a spaceship with ever-degrading power, and as it keeps getting harder to do your job, the option of turning off the life support is right there in the power menu. The radio is just creepy every time you use it. The shrill noises of literally unearthly sounds that come from it were somehow unsettling, and I kept expecting to hear something frightening. And as the game goes on, it does play a role in the story, just like the camera, as one of the few ways you can really interact with anything. Talking of interactivity, one of the most upsetting things in the game is how even when you find something that you know shouldn't be there, or bump into the harrowing or unexpected, there's nothing much you can do and no one you can tell. Do your mission and leave. It feels like you're failing to react to danger, but you have no choice because you have no options. But the true horror really comes near the end when you realize what's going on. Being unable to do anything to prevent it and constantly taking pictures with the camera as your fate seals itself. That's 2 Harry Masons. Sound design. The soundtrack is non-existent and the sound effects are minimal, just some low engine noises and the tones from the computer. Besides this, there's the radio once again, which really carries the sound design with some low bitrate, deeply unsettling sounds, like ghosts crying or the rhythmic pounding and roaring of the sun. It's hard to describe so many of them because they really don't sound like anything. Other than this, there's no real voice acting, directional audio, and there's only a slight bit of reverb. The sound design is bare bones because there really isn't many sources of sound in the depths of space alone. There's not much to hear. That's 3 Harry Masons. Gore. There's no gore in the game and it didn't need any. That's 4 Harry Masons. Story. The official story is that you're on board the Voyager-19 spacecraft looking for new habitable worlds, but you're secretively told that you're also looking for a crew who vanished while also searching for habitable worlds. The game's story is pretty simple, with some diary entries you can unlock after each completed mission, with them being basically just scraps of information for you to try and decipher. Besides this, there's only exposition at the start and at the end. The radio doesn't play into the story, and there's nothing much else. The fact that you don't know where the story is going for such a large portion of the game adds to the atmosphere, and even when it starts to seem like it's having a correlation, you can't be sure until it's too late. The story really manages to be engrossing whilst providing you with really very little, though its revelations really do make waves, making the final score 5 out of 5 Harry Masons. The game reminded me of Iron Lung a great deal, but despite its high score, I'd say it's not quite as intense as that game. I still like it far more than I was anticipating though. Again, I'd like to remind you the whole thing is down to my opinion in horror games, and if you don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I would probably reject a placement on board Voyager-19, I didn't complete my mission and advise you don't either. There'll be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out Bumps in the Middle of the Night. Peace.